Wait, you're a Bears fan and you're not subscribed to my channel? Before this video starts, make sure to 1. Hit the subscribe button below to catch all Bears content right here on this podcast. 2. Hit the bell notification because you, my friend, are a diehard Bears fan. And 3. Like this video and tell all the Bears fans you know about the channel. Alright, that's better. Now that you're actually subscribed to the channel, make sure to bear down and enjoy this video.
Now this is a podcast all about Bears. You either cheering for this team or just pulling your hair. I like to take a minute, just sit right back and tell you how I became the #1 Bears fan. That boy's Benny Hunter. Cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. You talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Before I get this episode started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. The Chicago Bears had a preseason football game, people, on my birthday, and they got the big W. Yes, it doesn't count, but it was awesome to see the Chicago Bears back to playing football again, and I hope you guys enjoyed your weekend, and I hope you guys enjoyed that big Bears win. The Bears beat the Dolphins on Saturday 20-13, and let's get right to the chase. Justin Fields looked amazing. Yes, it was against the second and third stringers, but Justin Fields looked absolutely amazing in his Bears debut. He went 14 for 20 for 142 yards and 1 passing touchdowns. And add to that, he had 5 rushes for 33 yards and a rushing touchdown. And honestly, every single throw looked pretty accurate, looked pretty good. And besides the very first 3 possessions for Justin Fields, he looked really comfortable, and that is a good sign in his progression towards hopefully being the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears. I skipped Andy Dalton and Nick Foles, obviously, because they didn't look very good. I can't really judge Andy Dalton right now because he didn't really get a lot of playing time. He got a couple of possessions. It was 2 3-and-outs in a row. The offense looked stagnant, like always, and it just didn't look good. Obviously, Andy Dalton played against the first stringers. Obviously, not everyone played, so it's kind of hard to judge Andy Dalton right now. Hopefully in the next game he plays a little bit more, so I can really judge how I feel about Andy Dalton and what he brings to the Chicago Bears offense. Obviously, Justin Fields played 2 quarters, and he looked good. Like I said, he played against second and third stringers, so I would really like to see Justin Fields play with the first stringers, which looks like that's going to be the case. Matt Nagy already came out as of this morning and said that he will get Justin Fields in with the 1. So not only in practice, he will, in this next exhibition preseason game, Justin Fields will hopefully get some reps with the 1s, which will be a good indication to really see where Justin Fields is at as an NFL quarterback. Justin Fields said after the game that the game felt slow, which it's probably true. When you play against a defense as good as the Chicago Bears, it's true. When you have Khalil Mack rushing you, when you have Roquan Smith, Jalen Johnson, I'm pretty sure Sean Desai is mixing things up to try to confuse our quarterbacks. So when Justin Fields says the game is slow, it's true. The game probably is slow compared to what he's used to seeing in practice every day. So, like I said, I can't really judge Andy Dalton. I loved what Justin Fields did. I loved how comfortable he looked in the pocket. And you could tell once Justin Fields got comfortable, it was ball game. That athletic ability that the Bears loved coming out of Ohio State came out of Justin Fields, and it was just a beautiful sight to see. Next thing I saw in this first preseason game was the defense actually looked really solid. The starters got some good pressure on Tua. The defense as a whole in the game had 1 interception and 3 sacks. That 1 interception actually came against Tua. I believe it was Deion Bush that got the interception, or Houston Carson. So one of them got the interception. And the defense was flying around, which was a good sight to see. You could tell that the Chicago Bears defense has this new healthy confidence about them. And I'm really excited to see where this leads to as we go into the regular season. I have to give this one guy a huge shout out, and that is Alec Ogletree. ever since we signed him, he has been an absolute stud for the Chicago Bears defense. I think this is going to be the steal of the offseason for the Chicago Bears. He just adds a really good dimension to this defense that I think is going to really help them as we go into the regular season. So, obviously, he had that big tackle for loss on 4th and goal, and that was one of the plays that started early and often and gave that defense, that early momentum that they really needed. Another thing that I really wanted to point out about this game is that the running back room looks absolutely loaded. And obviously, Damian Williams didn't play a lot. David Montgomery only got 2 carries, and he was kind of limped off the field. But they didn't get a lot of carries. What I was really impressed with was our backup running back. So, Artavius Pierce, 5 rushes for 50 yards. You had Ryan Nall, 3 rushes for 43 yards. You had Khalil Herbert, 6 rushes for 38 yards. And I'm impressed with every single one of those guys. And it's going to be really tough for Ryan Pace to say, hey, how many running backs can we keep? Because they're all valuable, and they can all bring a different dimension to this offense that could actually help the Chicago Bears. So, not only that, these guys can possibly be really big special teamers for the Chicago Bears as well. And I have to say that Khalil Herbert, and Matt Nagy actually mentioned this, is he has looked really solid, not only in camp, but in this first preseason game. He is doing everything right. Everything the coaches ask him to do, he does. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and that is really key. I've always liked Khalil Herbert. I thought it was an excellent pick for the Chicago Bears, and it looks like so far that it's paying off for them. So it's going to be fun to watch this running back room as we progress into these preseason games. And as we get into week 1, it's going to be interesting to see what Ryan Pace actually does in terms of how many running backs he keeps in that running back room. So other Bears standouts that I want to point out is Rodney Adams. He had 4 catches for 57 yards, and this is a guy that has been standing out all summer long in training camp. And I think he may, I don't want to make any bold predictions here, but I think he may actually make the 53-man roster. I think that he has gotten the coach's attention. I think he has gotten Ryan Pace's attention. And he may trump guys like Riley Ridley, for example, that only had 1 catch for 17 yards. Rodney Adams is competing at a high level. Doesn't matter who his quarterback is. He gets open. He's making big catches for the Chicago Bears. And I think he may have an opportunity to make this 53-man roster. Another guy that stood out to me is Jesse James, the tight end that we just added a couple weeks ago. 2 catches for 38 yards, and obviously he had that 1 touchdown catch where he was wide open from Justin Fields. Absolute bomb. It was a beauty to see. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go check that out in the Chicago Bears highlights. But those 2 guys, man, ever since we brought them in, they have competed at a high level, and I think they both have the opportunity to make this 53-man roster. So I'm not sure how you guys felt about the game. It was just an absolute awesome time watching the Bears back playing football once again. And obviously, like I mentioned the other day, it was actually my birthday on August 14th. So it was nice to not only celebrate my 24th birthday, but also watch the Bears get a win and also watch our future franchise quarterback in Justin Fields play so well. So I didn't mention the offensive line, and there's a reason for that, because the offensive line didn't look too bad. But instantly after the game, the Chicago Bears decided to add veteran tackle Jason Peters, which I actually like the signing. I do. I think at this point, the Chicago Bears actually had no choice. They needed an option at left tackle. Tevin Jenkins was supposed to be that option, but Tevin Jenkins hasn't practiced. So they had to do something, and I think this is definitely a low-risk, high-reward move for the Chicago Bears. So here's the pros to adding a guy like Jason Peters. He's a proven left tackle with 9 Pro Bowl selections at the position. He's a cheap option for the Chicago Bears. We're bringing him in on a 1-year, probably cheap veteran minimum deal. And we know that if he can stay healthy, he can plug right in at left tackle. And not only that, he adds the valuable experience and depth to the position as long as he can stay healthy. Here is the cons to adding a guy like Jason Peters, especially at his age. So only played 8 games last year due to a foot injury. Doesn't inspire the confidence about what direction Tevin Jenkins is heading in. We know Tevin Jenkins has a back injury, but by them adding Jason Peters like they did right after that first game, that is telling me that he is nowhere near ready to come back, and that it may be a little while longer until we see Tevin Jenkins play in a Bears football game. And last but not least, yes, Jason Peters is 39 years old, going into his 17th football season, and that doesn't solve the long-term solution at left tackle. I put that as a con because, yes, he's 39, he's going into the 17th season, and the only reason why I put that as a con because, once again, that correlates with that injury, right? He's older, he's coming off a season where he only played 8 games, so where is Jason Peters' health at? Is he going to be able to play right away, or is he still working his way back? Because if he's still working his way back, that's just going to add to the situation that we're already in. The Bears' offensive line is already struggling with injury, so if he's still working his way back, this is probably not a great signing. But by the sounds of it, it looks like he's ready to go. So he's going to come in, hopefully compete. I would say that he's going to plug right in at that left tackle spot. But like I said, it's a low-risk, high-reward move for the Chicago Bears. As long as Jason Peters can stay healthy, I think he adds a really good dimension to the Chicago Bears offensive line. And I can go on and on about how maybe we shouldn't have cut Charles Leno. I know there's a lot of people that didn't like Charles Leno, but hey, he got the job done. Didn't get hurt a lot. He played in a lot of football games. And when you have a guy that can play every single game and not get hurt, especially at a really valuable position like left tackle, it's starting to bite the Bears in the ass a little bit. Maybe they shouldn't have got rid of Charles Leno, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. But they did what they had to do. I think we were forced to sign a veteran guy like Jason Peters because that's all that was out there. There was not much out there for the Chicago Bears. So hopefully this works out, and hopefully he can plug in right away and help this offensive line because, trust me, we definitely need it. But before I let you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Kick on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, I'll be back for all new Bears podcasts right here on Kick on the Mic. Thanks, guys.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic.